Thank you. That was the work of our presentation directors. I'm Joseph Ramirez, and I'm the National Research Director for Outlier Communications.
And I'm Erin Brogan. I'm the Creative Director for Guess Who PR Agency. As Professor Basso explained, we have 4 teams. Each will make a 10-minute presentation of their recommendations. But first, we'd like to acquaint you with the extensive research that supports these recommendations.
We've traveled with our clients, Dan Partridge, Charlotte Marthaler, and Carrie Britt, to visit some of the top health departments in the country.
Here in Lawrence and in Douglas County, we've interviewed 14 community leaders, conducted 6 focus groups, and surveyed 215 residents to learn about their familiarity with your health department.
Our teams worked collaboratively, not competitively. As a result, our recommendations are all based on the same research. Now here's Caroline and Sam to explain how we got started.
Our orientation to the Lawrence-Douglas County Health Department, or LDCHD, began here in Alderson Auditorium on September 8th. We learned that you're in the final stages of earning national accreditation, which only 1 out of 100 health departments have achieved.
Later in the semester, you'd earn Health Department of the Year from the Kansas Association of Counties and the Kansas Association of Local Health Departments. They'd state that you've made significant contributions to the public health system through innovation, community engagement, activities, and a focus on continuous quality improvement.
Then you introduced us to your team as clients in need of clarity. You mentioned, it's not about what public health is, it's about what we do. You asked us to help you tell the community what public health is and who you are.
Frankly, we were the ones in need of clarity. We were terrified. How could we help the best health department in Kansas get even better?
You clarified our assignment by asking us to help by identifying strategies for communicating to strategic audiences the LDCHD's role in improving health and quality of life for all Douglas County residents.
We've come a long way in 13 weeks. We've interviewed hundreds of people and traveled thousands of miles. Tonight, you'll see the results. So let's begin on familiar ground, right here in your own headquarters.
Here's Zach and Grace to be our guides.
As we entered the doors of the Lawrence-Douglas County Health Department, none of us knew what to expect. I'm from Boston, and I was thinking, I bet I'm not the only one who's never been here.
Mr. Partridge, as you led us through that door, we began to see what a wide variety of services you provide. First, we all attended an orientation session. Then, 4 of you took each of our teams on the tour of your building.
You were a guide for the Green Team. You showed us your offices and took us through each of the departments. We began to learn terms such as WIC, for women, infants, and children. And we saw how you give vaccinations to immunize everyone, from kids to seniors.
We began to understand the vital role of communication in everything that you do. As we began to understand, we wanted to know what the public understands. We started by interviewing community leaders. Now here's Katie and Laura to share what we learned.
We conducted 14 interviews with these community leaders, 7 at the county level and 7 at the city level. We asked them to tell us what your health department does and what you could do to better serve the community. 3 of our teams focused on Lawrence.
My team focused on Eudora, Lecompton, and Baldwin City. In our presentations, you'll hear quotes that we recorded with their permission. Some leaders already know what you do. These are your powerful partners.
Others have only a vague notion of how you contribute to the health of their community. These are your prospective partners. Your challenge is to make them more aware and then to move them to advocacy.
Yours is the best health department in Kansas, but it can be hard to be a hero at home. These local leaders must recognize you as a powerful ally. They need your help as they work to meet the needs of the people they serve. Now here's Hannah and Natasha to share what we've learned about those needs.
During a 2-week period, we did 215 surveys in Douglas County.
The weather was nice, so we could talk to people in outside locations.
We wanted to make sure that our survey included people in all parts of Lawrence. We formed 14 interview teams and positioned ourselves in locations where we could best reach a representative sample of Lawrence, of the population.
We also sent teams to Eudora, Lecompton, and Baldwin City. I was on the Eudora team. We went to 3 locations just to find enough people to interview.
Our team's recommendations are based on the results of this survey. After you've seen these recommendations, our local research directors will present a summary of the findings from this survey research. You'll then have an opportunity to ask questions about this research and our recommendations.
So far, you've seen an extent of our local research. Now we're going to take you on a nationwide tour of some of America's top health departments. Zach and Alyssa will start us in Washington, D.C.
Just 3 days after our client orientation, we were flying to Washington, D.C. Ironically, it was the 13th anniversary of 9/11. I was 9 years old in the 3rd grade at Trailwood Elementary School. Alyssa, how about you?
I was in the 3rd grade at Boulevard Elementary School in Shaker Heights, Ohio. Taking our first campaign trip to Washington, D.C. was a great place to start.
We went to Washington, D.C. to visit the headquarters of NACHO, the National Association of County and City Health Officials. We learned that local means county and city, but not state.
NACHO calls itself the National Connection for Local Public Health. NACHO works with nearly 2,800 health departments in cities as large as New York and towns much smaller than Lawrence. We learned that only 1 in 100 of these health departments is officially accredited, as Lawrence is about to be.
In the coming weeks, we traveled to several of these accredited health departments. We wanted to learn what they did in order to boost public awareness and to become a well-known resource within their communities.
NACHO assembled this team of professionals to teach us how to brand your health department. Now here's Jenny and Joseph to tell us what we learned.
Here are the experts who presented to us. Elisa Bloom directs the media and public relations for NACHO. She and her colleagues taught us about their mission, vision, values, and goals.
In a 5-hour presentation, these experts taught us the importance of strategic and consistent messaging. They showed us how to communicate effectively when dealing with medical jargon and how to maintain a clear message that the everyday person can relate to.
Laura Hanen, NACHO's Chief of Government and Public Affairs, made these key points. Talk with commissioners, get involved with media, host community-involved events, and emphasize community partnerships.
Laura helped us pinpoint the common weaknesses of local health departments. She said to focus on the benefit that the community receives from the health department. She says that we should ask the question, what would happen if the Lawrence Douglas County Health Department didn't exist?
We realize that our campaigns must inform Lawrence and Douglas County how their health department is making their communities healthier and safer.
The next day we went to Capitol Hill to visit the office of Senator Jerry Moran. He is the ranking member of the Senate Appropriations Health Subcommittee. He is also a powerful advocate for Kansas health care.
The purpose of our visit to Senator Moran's office was to meet with his press secretary, Katie Needery, and his communications director, Garrett Silverman.
Katie and Garrett confirmed the importance of focusing on benefits, both with community leaders and ordinary citizens. Press releases are still important for keeping the media involved.
They told us what we had heard the day before, to keep messages simple so that everyday people can understand and benefit. They said leave out the medical and legislative language, but keep the local community involvement strong.
This visit with Senator Moran's communications team was the perfect way to wrap up our visit to Washington, D.C.
Our takeaway from Washington, D.C. was a solid understanding of the task ahead of us. We'd gained a great deal of information and inspiration that we couldn't wait to share with the class on Monday.
Our classmates would visit 8 health departments in the next 2 months. Thanks to NACHO, we could now give them a better idea of what to look for. Here's Hannah and Zach to share what they learned in Kansas City.
We visited the Kansas City, Missouri Health Department on Friday, September 19th.
This health department actually takes in part 4 Missouri counties: Jackson, Platte, Clay, and Cass.
Dr. Rex Archer directs the department. He's a past president of NACHO and has served as the board's marketing director. He said the health departments need visual identity because branding is your reputation.
Dr. Christine Riederer manages health communication. Her job is to make people aware of the department's services. She spoke about the importance of budgeting for branding. They constantly conduct focus groups and surveys to monitor the public's awareness and perception of the health department's brand.
Here's Maddie and Laura to show how the Kansas City Health Department manages its brand.
Jeff Hirschberger, the Public Information Officer, showed us the importance of co-branding. Here are 2 examples.
On the right, you see the national symbol for public health. This is the trademark developed by Dr. Archer's marketing committee at NACHO.
On the left, you see 2 well-known Kansas City symbols, the letters KC and the multicolored fountains.
Co-branding is the practice of using 2 symbols together. This visual relationship helps people see a connection between the 2 organizations.
Our takeaway from Kansas City was a better understanding of the importance of both branding and co-branding. The key job of the health department's brand is to establish a strong visual identity so that the public is aware of your presence.
By co-branding, using your trademark and those of your partners, you help people recognize the relationship that your health department has with others.
In Kansas City, we learned that every campaign is market tested in focus groups and surveys before being released to the public.
Now here's Solomon and Catherine to take us to Tulsa. Like Kansas City, the Tulsa Health Department is one of the few that's nationally accredited.
Thank you, Laura. The week after your team went to Kansas City, ours went to Tulsa.
Tulsa is both the name of the city and the county. It's about the same size as Wichita, the largest city in Kansas. Lawrence ranks 6th after Overland Park, Kansas City, Kansas, Topeka, and Olathe.
We consulted with Dr. Bruce Dart, the director, and Caitlin Snyder, who's both the marketing director and the public information officer, or PIO.
Dr. Dart came to the Tulsa Health Department 4 years ago. Like Dr. Archer in Kansas City, he's a past president of NACHO and has worked in public health for more than 30 years.
Caitlin directs THD's full-service marketing department. Her staff of 5 includes a graphic designer, copywriter, and coordinators for community relations, resource developments, and grants.
Caitlin told us about CHIP, which stands for Community Health Improvement Plan, and also the Pathways to Health program. She said that they write their communication at the 6th grade reading level to keep it simple and free of medical jargon.
And above all else, Caitlin stressed brand consistency. Her marketing department reviews all materials to make sure that they use the same logo, typography, color scheme, and style.
Now, here's Whitney and Alex to explain how that brand came to be.
Rebranding began in 2009 with research that revealed that Tulsa residents did not understand or value the health department services. They knew that a brand should make a promise. They wanted their new brand to promise that we will take care of you when you walk through the door.
The use of you in the second person singular was a conscious choice. They wanted to send the message that the health department will take care of you without asking for or seeking permission, just like your mother would. They wanted to make a personal connection with every Tulsa resident.
They hired a local agency, Littlefield Brand Development, to make their website more user-friendly and easier to navigate. They also created 8 YouTube videos to raise awareness of health issues in THD services.
Caitlin told us that as a general rule, they use social media primarily for emergencies, such as the H1N1 outbreak. She uses Hootsuite to manage their Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook accounts, as well as Google Analytics to track the website area that visitors use most. Community and media relations are vital because the health department must constantly adapt and provide. Dr. Dart said that since each person comes for a different reason, THD wants to meet that person's needs no matter what.
When their programs have mixed results, they continue to experiment and be creative until they arrive at solutions. He said, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying very hard.
Caitlin told us that they receive about 300 media requests per year. Each press release prompts local journalists to do a follow-up story. But in his first year in Tulsa, Dr. Dart said he confronted local journalists who were going to Oklahoma City for information that he could provide.
We asked Dr. Dart about using the public health logo created by NACHO. He said they had used it initially, but discontinued it because the research showed that people were confused by the multiple logos.
Our takeaway from Tulsa was a strong sense of inspiration. Dr. Dart told us how proud he is of Caitlin, saying her marketing team has done wonders for the department.
They genuinely care about every individual who walks through their doors. They also deeply care about their employees, the team that makes it all happen. We gained a new insight into Lawrence's slogan, together, day by day, building a healthy community.
We worked during the weekend for a presentation for the class on Monday to share with them what we learned. We had a great experience in Tulsa, and we look forward to helping Lawrence achieve the success that Tulsa has.
After completing day trips to Kansas City and Tulsa, we were ready to travel further and tackle 2 cities at a time. Here's Jesse and Steven to report on their trips to two health departments near Chicago.
On October 2nd, we flew to Chicago to visit 2 top health departments. On our first day, we went to West Aurora, Illinois' second largest city, to visit the Kane County Health Department.
We then went east, around the south end of Lake Michigan, up to Holland, Michigan. The Ottawa County Health Department has earned national recognition for doing a great job of public health education on a small budget.
At the Kane County Health Department, we met with Dan Eder, the Assistant Director, and Tom Schluter, the Public Information Officer. Their health department earned accreditation 1 year ago after a 3-year-long process.
Kane County serves the largest Hispanic population in Illinois. Most of their communication is in both English and Spanish. Their motto, "Your Health, Our Commitment," appears on their logo. Those wavy lines in the K represent the Fox River, which runs through Kane County.
Dan told us that the department was recognized in 2010 following major budget cuts that eliminated half of their staff. Community health specialists were brought in, and the department increased its key focus on key populations.
They formed partnerships with organizations including the University of Northern Illinois, which enabled them to conduct multiple research projects. Clearly, the link between the health department and the university benefit both.
Tom told us the story about the cupcake girl who baked cupcakes in her home and sold them in her neighborhood. But one day, the health department shut her down because she didn't have a permit to sell the baked goods. The girl's story ended up on Oprah, who bought her a kitchen and helped her gain the necessary permits.
Tom told this story to demonstrate what a health department should not do when dealing with the public. He stressed the importance of being personal so that people can understand how the health department is working to protect the public.
Tom's years as a reporter have helped him develop key contacts with the press. He believes he sends out more news releases than any other health department in Illinois. He serves on a state PR advisory board to ensure that in an emergency, the messages are clear, cohesive, and consistent.
Our takeaway from Kane County was the realization that we were already doing several things that they're doing. For example, the partnership between the health department and the university.
We also realized that you, Carrie, have a background much like Tom's, strong news experience and excellent media relations. Also, you've got a keen sense of storytelling, knowing what news is important to the community and how to make it come alive.
Especially in large cities, community means small neighborhoods. Kane County is too large to be considered home, and we all know there's no place like home, right, Jesse?
That's right, Stephen. And we were close enough to my hometown of Buffalo Grove to have dinner with my mom.
Dan and Carrie, it was very nice of us for you to schedule dinner so that Mrs. Perchonic could join us.
Afterward, we continued our journey up to Holland, Michigan.
Here's Megan and Sam to share what we learned at the Ottawa County Health Department.
Ottawa County, Michigan is right on the lake. With a total population of 266,000, it takes pride in being the healthiest county in Michigan.
It's accredited by the state of Michigan, and its national reputation is so well known that our friends at NACHO recommended it to us.
Communications specialist Christina Weidmink visited with us first about brand and message development. She was joined by 2 health officers, Lisa Stefanowski and Donovan Thomas, who taught us about the 4 C's.
The first C is for communication, clear and purposeful.
The second C is for creativity, in big campaign and daily operations.
The third C is for customer service, put the customer first.
The fourth C is for cultural intelligence, understanding the needs of a diverse population.
Christina, Lisa, and Donovan gave us 3 book recommendations that had guided their thinking.
The Disney Way, harnessing the management secrets of Disney in your company.
To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. Switch,
How to Change Things When Change is Hard by Chip and Dan Heath.
When we got back to Lawrence, each of our teams obtained copies of these books, of all 3 books. The Disney Way showed us how branding is about creating an experience.
To Sell is Human and Switch showed us how your brand must align with your mission and vision statements.
These books were very helpful to us. We'd like to have you to have them so that your team can use them like we did.
With a background in design, Christina began by studying the brands of every other health-related organization in Ottawa County. She determined that the most important factor was the mission of public health.
Other organizations had unique names or clever graphics, but the mission of public health spoke for itself.
We had seen public health in Kansas City, but in Tulsa and Kane County, it was just health department, as it is here in Lawrence and Douglas County.
Here's the branding system for the Ottawa County Health Department, or OCHD. Its visual is the county seal, which features the profile of an Ottawa Indian chief, but the dominant graphic element are the words public health.
Because Ottawa is a common name in the upper Midwest in Canada, they included MI for Michigan in front. This unique treatment became a graphic element whenever the name Ottawa appeared.
Here are the three most common configurations. Each works in its own environment, on a letterhead, in an ad, or on a t-shirt.
In their literature and tchotchkes, we could see their branding system come to life. Tchotchkes is a common word for premiums, items that carry a brand identity and a promotional message.
For example, the sand pail carries a message reminding people to keep the beaches and waterfront clean and safe for public use.
On top of the green pail, you see a folder with Wear One on it. The folder contains a condom and is part of their contraception campaign.
Here you can really see the value of the equity color in holding things together.
Our takeaway from Ottawa County, Michigan was the value of a good brand and a cohesive message. We now knew about the 4 C's: communication, creativity,
customer service, and cultural intelligence. We couldn't wait to share these with our classmates on Monday. We've been to 2 great health departments in 2 days.
The travelers on the next trip went even further. Here's Brittany and Joseph to discuss the trip to the Great Northwest.
We traveled to Spokane on Thursday, October 23rd to visit the Spokane Regional Health District. Spokane is located in the eastern part of Washington State and is about the size of Wichita. The Spokane Regional Health District covers 9 counties throughout the eastern half of Washington.
On Thursday night, we flew to Billings, Montana, not Minnesota. It's an inside joke. Billings is slightly larger than Lawrence, but is the largest city in Montana.
Joseph, on this trip, you set a record for traveling for the furthest distance traveled by a campaign student, from Washington, D.C. to Washington State.
Yes, and it has been a pleasure to bring back to my team and the rest of our class what I've been able to learn from these field trips.
The headquarters of the Spokane Regional Health District dominates the skyline in Spokane. Our host, Kim Pappage, the PIO, said that some of it call it the Star Wars building.
The Spokane Health District serves a population of about 400,000 people. Its mission is to serve as the region's public health leader and partner, and to protect and improve the health of the communities they serve. As the PIO, Kim was a strong advocate for earned media. Either she or a staff member will try to do at least one on-camera interview per week. They look for any opportunity to make a statement about something in public health.
Amy is the graphic designer, and she stressed keeping it simple. Her infographics have helped people learn about the Spokane Health Department and what it does. Infographics are especially important in reaching people in lower income communities who might have trouble understanding news articles. Dr. Torney Smith helped us understand the difference between communities and neighborhoods. People identify with their neighborhood because it's where they live. Dr. Smith brought in Elaine Connolly to tell us about Neighborhoods Matter.
Years of data reveal that neighborhoods only 3 miles apart had an 18-year difference in life expectancy. By focusing on factors such as education, income, race, and ethnicity, they are better able to provide more effective solutions for underserved populations.
For example, Elaine said that in one neighborhood, children felt unsafe because they had to walk past an abandoned drug building on their way to school. Also, the children had found drug needles in public parks.
Neighborhoods Matter helped organize residents to clean up the parks. They then went to the city to get the house demolished.
The first key takeaway from Spokane is thinking upstream. While working on today's problems, you must also consider the future. Good solutions have sustainability and can adapt to changing needs.
The second key takeaway is to connect the dots. This was their way of expressing how their messages fit the need. Good stories can help people connect the dots between a problem and a solution. The vivid images of kids walking past a scary house can motivate parents to take action.
Here's Sam and Morgan to take us from Spokane, Washington to Billings, Montana.
As we traveled to Big Sky Country, my first realization was that Billings is in fact in Montana, not Minnesota.
When we checked into the Dude Ranch Motel, we expected a fire roaring in the fireplace. Instead, we warmed our hands on the lamp in the lobby. We were right downtown in a city slightly larger than Lawrence.
Billings is the largest city in Montana, but it serves a huge area. Formerly known as Yellowstone City/County Health Department, it is now known as Riverstone Health.
This transformation took several years. Changing the name was the last thing that they did.
Our visit to Riverstone Health was hosted by Barbara Schneeman, Communications Director, and Dr. John Felton, CEO and President.
A decade ago, when it was known as the Yellowstone City-County Health Department, people didn't know what it did, where it was located, or how its services were used. In 2002, public awareness was just 29%.
10 years later, it had tripled to 90%. Their rebranding campaign took place in over a 3-year period from 2006 to 2008.
Dr. Felton took us on a tour of Riverstone Health Clinic building and office building. In their clinic, they provide a wide range of services to the entire community, not just the underserved populations. They host a residency program that serves 150 patients per day. The clinic also has a dentistry program that serves 70 patients per day.
As you walk between the clinic and office buildings, you see many examples of how Riverstone Health identity unites with the environment. For example, on the bottom left you see 3 posters, headlined, "Our Patients Matter, Your Health Matters, and Your Voice Matters." Next to it is a poster headlined, "30 Years of Caring for Families," with pictures of the healthcare team. This remarkable identity didn't take 30 years to establish, it only took 3.
Barbara asked Murray Steinman and Barbara Corning of Flying Horse Communications to tell us about the Riverstone brand rebranding. They taught us about brand optimization, internal values, and brand culture.
Murray said that a brand crystallizes when enough people have the same feeling about it. To identify their brand culture, staff members were asked to think of the values they pride themselves in.
The staff then had to define what business they were in. After much discussion, they determined that they were in the connections business. This, in turn, influenced the development of their values and mission statement.
Barbara Schneeman said that writing their values and mission statement helped everyone form a clear vision of what they wanted to expect from the future. Having that vision was the most important factor in defining their brand.
Our key takeaways from Billings was the realization that internal communications was the key first step. The entire staff needed to be on board with the same values, goals, and vision for the future.
Their agency could not tell them what these should be. They had to work really hard to do it for themselves.
Once they agreed on their values, their brand crystallized because enough people had the same feeling about it. Arriving at the name and a visual identity was the last step.
We learned in Billings that a brand is a total experience someone has with the product. It's an efficient and consistent way to communicate and differentiate, especially for a health department.
Now here's Rachel and Kelsey to take us on our last trip to Austin and Phoenix. But wait, you won't believe what happened in Billings.
What happens in Billings stays in Billings. That's our story, and we're sticking to it.
You're right, we don't believe it, do we, Kelsey?
No, we don't. But we do believe that we saved the best trip for last. We traveled to Austin to visit the Austin Travis County Health and Human Services Department in Austin, the capital city of Texas.
Then we flew to Phoenix to visit the Maricopa County Health Department, the nation's 3rd largest after New York City and Los Angeles County. At the Austin Travis County Health and Human Services Department, we learned about several strategic campaigns they've implemented.
Unlike the other cities we visited, identity was not a concern in Austin. Instead, Austin focused on specific programs that directly influence public health.
Shannon Jones, Deputy Director, talked about how they saw things that happen in the community, whether good or bad, as an opportunity for the department.
Carlos Riviera, Director, talked about how it is often difficult to get their message across because people don't know the difference between clinical health and public health. He said that the City Council doesn't understand the difference either. We thought, what a great opportunity for a UT campaigns class.
Carol Brosh, Manager of Communications and Community Development, showed us a video she produced to tell the community who they are and what they do. She said it's important to capture relatable things to the public, like children, parents, and food.
We asked Carol if Austin-Travis County Health and Human Services Department had considered rebranding. She said that the backlash from both the city and council and the county would be too strong.
We're never going to be Coca-Cola, she said. We just have to keep the identity we're stuck with and still do the work we need to get done.
Smoking is still hazardous to health. Bob Corona and Dr. Huang presented their campaign, Live Tobacco-Free Austin.
With the help of Carol, they created a series of short video and audio clips of people who have been affected by smoking. For example, a girl described how she'd always been a daddy's girl, but because her dad died, he'd never see her get married or have a family.
Dr. Huang also talked about how policies against smoking can help people quit. The entire University of Texas campus in Austin is now tobacco-free. Not just smoke-free, but tobacco-free. If UT can do it, why can't KU?
Austin was impressive because of its strong programs. They don't hesitate to tackle big problems head-on. They recognize that their number one job is to keep the residents of Austin and Travis County healthy.
They had no interest in rebranding, figuring that it was more trouble than it was worth. Instead, they told their story in an excellent video that they used in a variety of ways.
Before we go to our last destination, all of us travelers would like to say a special thanks to Colleen Hill, who scheduled all of our travel.
Thank you very much, you guys. I just want to say after I booked that Dude Rancher, I didn't know if anybody'd ever speak to me.
Colleen, thanks to you, our class has traveled more than any other campaigns class in KU history, from Washington, D.C. to Washington State.
From big cities to small towns, we've been to the best, and we're ready to show you how Lawrence, the best health department in Kansas, can learn from the rest of the best as you search for continuous improvement.
But before we leave Austin, we had one night to enjoy the local culture. We had dinner on South Congress, or SoCo, and shopped for souvenirs.
Then the next morning, we had a Texas waffle before leaving for the airport. Now here's Julia and Kendall to take us to Phoenix.
Phoenix is in Maricopa County, Arizona. Known as Maricopa County Public Health, it is the third largest health department in the states.
The department is pursuing accreditation and serves Maricopa County's 4 million people, which is 2/3 of the state's population.
In such a large area, a key to community connection is through the schools. They work with 1,100 schools.
To engage and involve students and their parents, they created a Parent Ambassadors program. Its purpose was to make sure that each community's voice was heard and that parents felt empowered to create healthier schools.
We learned about the Health Improvement Partnership of Maricopa County from Rachel Gutierrez and Courtney Kurzenweisner. This unique logo represents the 4 pillars of public health:
community, work sites, education, and healthcare. Defining these 4 pillars helped them establish priorities, coordinate resources, and take action.
Marcus Johnson then took us through the social determinants of health: society, community, organizational, interpersonal, and individual.
We'd first learned about the social determinants of health from you, Mr. Partridge, during our client orientation in August. We could now see the connection to the 4 pillars of public health in Maricopa County.
Marcus gave us a memorable metaphor of remembering the connection between a healthy environment and healthy communities.
He said that if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he can feed himself forever. But you need to build the lake in order to provide that opportunity.
Marcus also gave us the analogy of scaffolding. He said that a scaffold holds up the building while it's being built, but once the building is up, the scaffold can be removed.
The health department forms that scaffolding. It provides the support so that a healthy environment can be created.
Finally, John Brodsky taught us about Walk Phoenix and Fit Phoenix, programs that are helping make Phoenix one of America's healthiest cities by getting people up and moving.
Both programs were established with the help of local partners, Downtown Phoenix, the University of Arizona College of Medicine, and even the local Coca-Cola bottler, who helped sponsor the event.
We are deeply grateful for everyone who came to speak with us. Jean Fowler, the Public Information Officer, invited her colleagues in the department and in partner organizations to tell us how they strategically communicate with each public in this large and diverse population.
Fatima Hernandez taught us about the importance of a parent ambassador program and how school districts and neighborhood schools hold a community together. We learned that you can have the knowledge to be healthy, but you must build the lake by creating the environment that makes it happen.
Our last step in the research process was to finalize our concepts and test them in focus groups with residents of Lawrence and Douglas County.
Our final focus group, shown here at the top, is with members of your own team. We were delighted to learn that your deep commitment to public health reflects in the recommendations that you're about to see.
Each concept has been tested with consumers right here at home. In Lawrence, we held focus groups in people's homes, like Jenny's grandma. We went to the public library and the Office of Leadership Lawrence.
In Baldwin City, we visited with seniors in a retirement community. We went the extra mile several times to make sure our recommendations fit the needs of Eudora, Lecompton, and Baldwin City, as well as Lawrence.
Now I'd like to invite my teammates, Asida Greens, to join me to begin the first presentation.